Hi, my name's Tom Piras. Welcome to Skydive 101. When I started jumping back in '76, there wasn't a whole lot of info on how to do it in this sport. I used to go to the DZ and try to snivel on a load with all the good jumpers, and all I ever seemed to hear was a lot of excuses why I couldn't get on a load. Sound familiar? Well, since then, I worked pretty hard to get on all those loads, and after 8,000 jumps, a handful of national and world titles, both as a player and a coach, lots of time and effort, I'm kind of on the other side of the fence now. But I sure remember what it was like back then. That's why Skydive 101 was made for you. To effectively use this tape, you must enter the classroom with an open mind. We may have to clear away some existing ideas, or at least rearrange them, in order to develop a good foundation for our building blocks. These building blocks are all the discipline points listed in the glossary, which we refer to throughout this tape. Discipline is a system of rules for conduct in skydiving. We need to back up far enough into the basics so that as we move forward, we don't miss anything. This way, we will progress on a foundation of correct information. Now, consider yourself a video computer assembling bits of information and transferring the information from the video to your brain so that you can recall it frame by frame. To do so, you need to develop the discipline to make these moves in the sky so slow and smooth that you can see everything that's happening around you, expanding your peripheral awareness. And peripheral awareness is being conscious of your complete surroundings. So when it comes time to do that move again, or a similar move, your recall is clear. If you get panicked or move too quickly, you won't recall as much of the information, and what you do recall will be blurry or tunnel visioned. So be slow and smooth. And now, I'd like to give you a couple of tips which will make this tape as effective as possible. The first is to go to the highest altitude possible, which means more working time, knowledge, and fun per skydive. Secondly, the proper use of air-to-air video gives better use of working time, allowing you to be able to see how your body reacts in freefall compared to what your brain was thinking, and to develop the mind-body connection. Video shouldn't be used just for the group environment, but also to help develop the individual mind. Video gives you the ability to view and critique your skydives as many times as you want from an outside point of view, giving knowledge unavailable by any other means. Plus, it's just a whole lot of fun to see what you're doing on all your jumps. Without video, the learning curve is slower and more tedious. So the combination of maximum altitude, air-to-air video, and this tape will give you the most rapid progression possible. This tape is meant for people of all skill levels, but deals primarily with a four-way format because four-way is easier logistically, more intimate than larger groups. You get to practice more sequences per jump. The dives move along quicker on the ground and in the air. The angles are more easily defined, maximizing peripheral awareness without the overload of larger formations, all of which gives more skydiving and fun for every jump. Since this tape uses a four-way format, you need to be able to build a four-way and hold some semblance of relativity, whether you have grips or not. Relativity is being able to hold position, both horizontal and vertical, on heading, regardless of how much the formation is moving. Now, if you can't build a four-way, either by pulling it off the plane or flying in, don't worry. Rome or the first 100-way wasn't built in a day. You probably need some one-on-one drills with entry practice into the formation while working on turns in place and relativity to your partner. So ask a friend or get an instructor from your DZ to help you progress to the point where you are consistent at getting into the formation. while reviewing the upcoming solo basics until you feel you have a good understanding of its content, taking special note of the importance of discipline, smooth flying, and correct body position. Now, the ideal group of people to jump with would have the same body sizes, shapes, and weights. But this is not always possible. If you can get into a four-way but have trouble maintaining vertical relativity without grips, let's look at jumpsuits, body weight, and body position for possible fall rate differences. Vertical relativity is staying level with the formation. Jumpsuits are normally the easiest way to compensate for differences in body sizes and shape, and weight changes can also be used to help compensate for unequal fall rate. Weight can be changed internally by gaining or losing weight, or externally by use of weight vests. The person who falls the slowest should be in the smallest suit with spandex arms, etc., and weights if necessary. And if you need more than 10 to 12 pounds to compensate for the fall rates, I suggest you look at jumpsuit compatibility a little closer. Now, as you learn to fall faster, you may be able to eliminate some of the weights little by little. The weights also give light people a better center of gravity. The fastest falling person should wear a suit that allows maximum range with the least amount of jumpsuit flap. And range is the difference between the fastest and the slowest you can fall. In any case, wear the smallest jumpsuits possible in order to fly your body and not fight your jumpsuit. Use your own judgment to determine the best combination of jumpsuits and weight changes necessary to equalize fall rate. Neither the size of the jumpsuit nor the amount of weight should be carried to an extreme, which allows us to fly more and work on fall rate less. After you fix fall rate problems, review the upcoming drills concerned with maintaining relativity and note them in the index of your glossary for future reference. Skydiving is nothing more than controlled air deflection. Symmetrical air deflection is equal displacement of air by all parts of the body and allows us to fall straight down, while asymmetrical air deflection produces turns, translational body movement, or a combination of the two. Translational body movement is a change of vertical and/or horizontal relativity not involving a change of heading, meaning movement forwards, backwards, sidewards, up or down, other than turning, relative to the rest of the formation. Skydive 101 deals with turns in place, and that is skydiving in a two-dimensional plane with constant compensation in the third dimension to remain level with the rest of the formation. In order to turn in place, we must first be able to fall straight down. The body position we use to accomplish this is the box position and is our basic flying stance. You can see the characteristics of the box stance from the overhead view, showing the arms approximately 90 degrees to the body, placing the hands just into your peripheral vision. Peripheral vision refers to the edge of our circle of vision, which is out here. The knees are spread to approximately shoulder width, producing a 90-degree angle at the crotch, creating the classic box stance, which produces good lateral stability. Lateral stability is stability on the roll axis. And we see here the head is up, helping to maximize peripheral vision and awareness while maintaining the slight arch necessary to fall straight down, similar to a badminton birdie. Here, the hands are approximately level with the knees, which is the proper position for taking or presenting grips, while the calves are at approximately a 90-degree angle to the rest of the body, contributing to the stability of the box position. There are two basic variations of the box position that we use to maintain vertical relativity. The first variation is the fast fall position, which spills air increasing our fall rate in an exaggerated arch position. The exaggerated arch will place your arms and legs in a position that is higher than the rest of your body, which makes it hard to pick up or present a grip. The second variation is the slow fall position, which cups more air, slowing the rate of fall in a D-arch position. The D-arch position will place your arms and legs in a position that is lower than the rest of your body, and this is the least stable stance of the two variations of the box. The D-arch position is similar to trying to ride a beach ball on the water. A turn is a change of heading started and stopped by asymmetrical air deflection. Turning in place is a turn around the central axis of rotation, requiring the balanced use of arms and legs. The central axis of rotation is the point on the body we revolve on in order to fall straight down. Turns in place also involve the head using the old picture, new picture technique, which minimizes loss of visual contact with the formation. On your relativity drills, build a four-way having one person at a time drop grips on the formation while anticipating not backing out of the slot, and at the same time maintaining relativity as efficiently as possible. The people not dropping grips hold a three-way horseshoe with the lightest grips possible, presenting a good target for the solo person to dock on. A three-way horseshoe is a four-way star with one person out of the slot. The relativity drills are designed to work on being able to fly in a formation without having to hang on to grips to stay in the slot. In other words, flying no contact. And no contact flying means close enough to pick up grips without actually taking them. Continue to work on this drill until everyone on the dive can rotate through the solo slot and successfully stay relative in the slot for 5 seconds, 2 times each on the dive. Then everyone take turns doing 360s in the slot, everyone turning first to the right, and then everyone turning to the left, maintaining some semblance of relativity while remembering turn concepts from the glossary, solo basic reviews, and the turn in place drills further into the tape. Stay on this dive until everyone can do a right 360-degree turn and redock and a left 360-degree turn and redock on the same dive. Well, that's it for the introductory solo basics and relativity drill portions of this tape. And now we can leave this classroom scene and go skydive, if you know what I mean. We're done solo basics relativity drills, and now let's work on freefall skills. Shoom, papa, papa, ow, ow. On these skydives, we've got to keep in mind that we're going to have a video man on every jump. This creates the need to pay extra attention to altitude awareness. We're going to assign the breakoff signal to red on this dive, and at 3,500 feet, he's going to wave off, and we're going to clear out of the center, tracking to 2.5 or 2, giving the photographer plenty of room in the middle. Let's remember to wave off, because it may save your life someday. On this jump, the drill is star 360 star. The object is to develop synchronized relativity with each other while turning in place. We have stars as every other point, allowing us to face off, establishing eye contact at the center point. And eye contact involves a focusing on the center of your field of vision where everything is seen clearly, unlike peripheral vision, which tends to be a little blurry around the edges. Eye contact allows us to gather bits of information and transfer them to the mind's computer. We're also going to learn proper keying. Black will give all the keys on this dive. We're also going to learn turns in place and setups. A setup is the no-contact building of a base for the moving people to dock on. So on this dive, while one pair turns on their axis of rotation, the other pair is working on the setup and maintaining relativity. Okay, let's pick up the grips. We want to specify wrist grips here, and when black keys, we have a simultaneous break. We also have good eye contact by red and green on the way out, a good head switch, and good eye contact on the way back in to grips. Let it settle out. Black keys, good synchronicity on the break, old picture, new picture, seeing the setup, fly to wrist grips. Now, when black and blue make their turns, red and green build a setup while watching levels and present a good target for the turning people to dock on. While red and green are dealing with a good setup, black and blue try to maintain relativity during the entire course of their turn. Now that we have learned the moves, let's pick up the tempo just a little bit the second time through without sacrificing the quality of the jump. And if you find that you're not turning as well by turning quickly, just slow it down and be smooth. It is important for your group to repeat each dirt dive as many times as necessary to become familiar with the dive before going on to the creepers. A creeper is the tool used to simulate the two-dimensional body position we use in Freefall. We use creepers to gain a more realistic perspective of puzzles, keys, angles, grips, levels, and targeting. Targeting is a series of interim positions used to give a reference during the course of a turn. Creepers can also show your moves in stop action, slow motion, normal or high speed, and to check your dive as many times as you want, taking as much time as is necessary to preview and prepare your skydive frame by frame. Go slow enough to be able to anticipate and see the keys, the break, and eye contact on the way out, which develops relativity and synchronicity. At the 90-degree angle, see the stair-step diamond targeting. Watch your peripheral vision of the center becoming a little cloudy. See the old picture to get a good reference on your proximity and levels before you move to the blind spot as you continue turning in place. Make your head switch using the old picture to give you a pretty good idea of where the new picture is going to be. Now you should be picking up on levels, and when the center point starts to come back and focus in your peripheral vision and your eye contact with the center starts to come back, you begin to recognize the setup and also see the grips. So by the time you finish your turn and stop on heading, you're in a good position to pick up wrist grips. The formation will be settling out, and we anticipate the key and break to come. We're going to use information already stored in our computer while making the left-hand turn, knowing that turns are the same whether you're going to the right or to the left. Key, break, eye contact, relativity, synchronicity, 90-degree angle, peripheral vision, old picture, head switch, 180-degree angle, new picture, peripheral vision, eye contact, 270-degree angle, relativity, proximity, see the setup, finish the turn, pick up wrist grips. While the formation settles out, we need to be anticipating what comes next. Black and blue work on synchronized relativity and turns in place, while red and green build the setup. The setup people set levels and keep proximity with constant eye contact while continuing to set a good rate of fall, staying as close or even a little closer than needed so the turning people won't have to reach for wide grips, while keeping black and blue in their peripheral vision during the entire turn. Keep using the creepers until you have a good picture of the entire dive in your head. Go slow and smooth enough to see all the points discussed in the creeper section and to reinforce the discipline points from the dirt dive. Have fun on your skydives. Be slow and smooth enough to assimilate as much information as possible for future use and keep expanding that peripheral awareness. Here you can see green grip switching to wrist grips while anticipating the key and the brake. Red references on blue, keeping him in his peripheral vision during the old picture portion of the turn, until a head switch, which moves Red's field of vision into the new picture, where he sees Black's leg far away, creating some suspicion about the setup. Red regains eye contact with his mirror image and sees green on an angle unlike the picture remembered from the creepers. He continues to turn, seeing the wide setup, and at the same time, blue realizes the wide setup and starts to compensate by closing the gap between Black and himself. The grips are picked up one at a time because of the wide setup, and this is only acceptable when the grips are picked up in a manner that does not disturb the formation. We see the key given, and the turns start immediately on the brake. And what we should be seeing is the key given and a slight pause before turning to help establish relativity and synchronicity. There is no anticipation exhibited by the setup people to avoid backsliding on the brake, causing a wide setup. As Black slides out and the setup widens, green turns referencing only on Black until after the head switch, while red keys on blue, causing two offset pairs at the 180-degree point of the turn. Red, with his back to the formation, mentally targeting, continues to move away from the center point because he was referencing on blue and sliding with him. Just as Red switched to the new picture, blue stops his backslide, causing Red, who is still sliding from mental targeting, to almost run him over. Blue does a good job of opening the door with his left arm, allowing him to get out of Red's way without having to move his body out of the way. Green comes out right on Black's wrist and red on Blue's. Black and Blue recognize the wide setup and move towards the center point. At the same time, red and green begin moving back into the middle. Red and green pick up one grip at a time but do not affect the formation. The formation settles out. Everyone should be able to recognize problems and fix them on the same jump. Let's talk a little bit how to make the next time through the page a little better. Black and Blue should anticipate the need to keep the setup close before the break ever happens, because once you see that the setup is too wide, it's already too late. Red and green need to pause long enough at the break to become aware of the possible need to adjust levels and proximity, if necessary, during the old picture portion of the turn, so as not to be surprised when the new picture comes into view. Red and green should not only reference on their setup men, but should cross-reference on each other with good eye contact. By using each other as well as the setup men to reference the center point, should help them retain better relativity throughout the turn. Red's left turn keeps Black in his field of vision longer than indicated by the belly mount camera, because the neck of the belly mount camera can't turn like a human neck. Red does not have to spend as much time following a backsliding setup, allowing his head switch to the new picture to come sooner. Blue's leg enters Red's peripheral vision, and Red begins to recognize the setup and adjust levels if necessary. The head gets aligned on the center point sooner than the body due to the turn of the neck. The head stops on heading, referencing everything in its field of vision. We see legs out by Black and Blue, creating a tighter setup. Red and Green have better eye contact on each other and a better feeling for the center point and turning in place. We also see a more symmetrical stair-step diamond at the 90-degree setup. The turn rate goes out of sync to the bipole. Green was slow on the first turn, Red was fast. Both overcompensate on the second turn, making Green fast and Red slow. The point is that you can learn in freefall and adjust from move to move, but don't make your adjustments too radical. Green holds off on picking up his grip on Black until Red is in position, showing discipline and smooth flying. Here we see the key with a slight pause before the turn. Note the intensity of Black and Blue's eye contact and the concentration by Red and Green on the setup. Black and Blue are in Red and Green's periphery during the entire turn. Red and Green tighten the setup, anticipating a good presentation of grips. Tighter setups seem to be able to handle rougher hits than a wide setup. Black's key is exaggerated and translates movement all the way out to his hands. Such a strong key is not needed when everyone is facing in, but might be needed in a bipole situation. Note the setup with legs out, remembering when the setup, eye contact, and head switch are good, we see good turns. We see a good setup and cross-reference with Blue slightly ahead of Black in the turn. Black, being far enough away to bring momentum into the dock, causes the formation to move. We see a good stiff arm technique by Red to absorb the hard hit. It now needs time to settle out before the break. The time it takes to settle out is greater than the time needed to dock smoothly, meaning that slow and smooth is better than fast and rough. Here you can see Black and Blue start their turns before the grips are dropped, allowing no time to pause after the break to clean up relativity. It is a natural tendency to rush things during a skydive due to the adrenaline flow. So use that flow to your advantage. Slow down, smooth it out, see it all happen. Due to starting the turn before the grips are dropped, the axis of rotation moves up from the stomach to the chest. When grips drop, the axis moves back to the stomach, leaving Black and Blue to turn in place, slightly offset from each other. Black is in great position for targeting the bipole at the 180-degree point, and Blue makes his head switch before Black, allowing him to see the new picture sooner, to react and compensate enough to finish the turn in good shape. Black's head switch was not finished until late in the turn, causing a late reaction to being out of place, and compounded by lack of use of legs, created a backsliding chest turn and separation before getting legs out to correct the backslide. Black showed good discipline by not reaching and flew into the slot before picking up grips. There's not much of a pause, but you can see Green looking in to develop eye contact, while his upper body spills air from right to left, moving the body out and to the right. We see the left leg, then the right leg, pushing the lower body to the center to exchange places with the upper body, using asymmetrical air deflection to produce a turn. At approximately the 180-degree point, note the levels in proximity, with Green's legs in a neutral position. As the new picture develops, we see the right leg kick in, slowing the turn, followed by the left leg as Green picks up the center point. At this point, You need to drive back to the center with your legs while using your upper body to adjust and maintain levels and preparing to pick up grips. On the left turn, we see the right and then the left leg of green pushing down on the air, moving him into the center. We also notice loss of the old picture early, which may lead to problems during the second half of the turn. At the 180-degree point of the turn, the legs go neutral and the eyes scan the horizon. Green now relies on his sense of feeling to keep level and turning in place. Just past 180 degrees, we see Green's knees slightly down, creating lift and translational body movement up. Green begins to slow his turn. As he starts to get the new picture, sensing he is high on the turn, he begins to adjust levels by going to the fast fall position, and at the same time gets the legs involved to stop the momentum of the turn and the backslide created by centrifugal force at the end of the turn. Elbows and knees are up, spilling air, showing Green really working to get level before picking up the grips, while still using legs to maintain horizontal proximity. On the break, the setup people need to remember the base can't help turners except by being a good base, working the levels, proximity, and rate of fall. Have discipline and do your job. Don't look up, don't look out. Let the moving people pick up the grips. Note Green's targeting at 90 and at 180 degrees. And when he gets the visual of the new picture in his periphery, he reacts by spilling air to the loss of levels created by leaving the old picture too soon. Now blue reacts to a slightly wide setup and tightens up the proximity so red can pick up grips. We see good synchronicity in leg use by black and blue. Note the targeting at the 180-degree point and reference of the horizon. Blue's legs slow the turn while he uses his left arm to push his upper body back towards the center. Here we see good synchronicity, relativity, and body position showing a good turn. Blue pushes his lower body towards the 90 and 180-degree targeting points with good use of his arms and legs. Blue slows the turn with his legs and uses them to help avoid the backslide created by the centrifugal force of the turn. And while blue is doing things correctly on his side, black exhibits an unbalanced usage of arms and legs, creating a backslide during the last half of the turn. The backslide could be attributed to holding the old picture too long, creating a late new picture, or just slow reaction to the backslide. We also see a lack of grip discipline exhibited by black as he picks up the first grip before getting into the proper position, pulling Green away from the setup. This means don't pick up grips to get into a slot because you do more damage to the formation. Get into the slot and then pick up the grips. And remember, if you do pick up the grips one at a time, you'd better be clean. The video never lies.
By now, you've realized the quantity of information to be assimilated in order to understand the turn-in-place concepts in Drill 1. Don't panic. No one is asking you to remember all these points at one time. It will take you repeated viewings of the tape, along with multiple skydives, to see that the sequence of discipline points creates a method to dissect a turn into its most basic elements. These elements, when put together in a coordinated sequence, build awareness, which allows you to develop the mind-body connection. The smoother your moves, the more you will see and comprehend. This creates a correct learning environment and eventually will teach you to teach yourself. The two most common mistakes in Drill 1 are backsliding at the break and chest turning. Backsliding can be avoided by better anticipation and leg use at the break. Chest turns are created by an unbalanced use of arms and legs because most of us are hand-eye and not eye-foot coordinated. You can improve your eye-foot coordination on the ground by playing hacky sack, doing aerobics, or practicing other leg-related skills. You can also learn balanced turns in the wind tunnel. These methods may not be quite as exciting as skydiving, but could prove to be more dollar-wise. In any case, remember to use your legs and have a good time.
This drill is now star, stair-step diamond, stair-step diamond, star. We're going to assign the keys on this one are the people that are facing in on the point and the tail of the stair-step diamond, and I'll take the brake off at 3.5 on this one. Black keys it, simultaneous brakes, simultaneous grips, coming through the middle, watching the levels, good eye contact. And here we're going to develop presenting a grip and picking up a grip at the same time. I'm going to start introducing that next. Okay, we want these grips right on the wrist and right at the bend at the knee. Good presentation of grips by the people in the center. Good presentation of grips by the people turning back into the formation. Let's go through it one more time. No overturns. Just try to turn at the same speed as your partner. And as you progress through the dive, we can pick up the tempo just a little bit. At 3,500 feet, wave it off, everybody track out of the center. In drill 2, we learned to pick up hand and knee grips while turning in place. We will use information stored in the mind's computer from drill 1 and other skydives that we've made. In the formation, you want to get your body used to falling straight down. Don't sit up. Get your elbows up a little, which will press the chest down, helping you to cut and not cup the relative wind. You should also get your legs out in order not to backslide when you drop grips. If you can let go of grips and everyone is flying relative with no translational body movement, that means you're falling straight down with the same rate of fall. You let the formation settle out before the break. That's good. Your pause now need only be long enough to recognize relativity before turning. If you let go of grips and one or more people are moving up and down, in or out, you either didn't let the formation settle out, someone just wasn't paying attention at the break, or maybe your rate of fall may still need some attention. Recall the visuals from the stair-step diamond targeting in drill 1 to help you in drill 2. As we turn into the formation, we need to think of stopping before we get to grips so we don't carry momentum into the formation. We have two options on wrist grips, and both are palm down. The first grip can be inside the wrist, and the other is an outside wrist grip. On the knee grip, we only have one option, and that's a palm down grip right at the bend in the knee on the outside of the leg. Not inside the knee, not on the calf, and not high on the thigh. We're going to be working on presenting and picking up the grips at the same time. The turning pair must work on their own setup, which is a no-contact compressed accordion no more than a body's width apart. They must also monitor a consistent level rate of fall using cross-referencing and eye contact, meaning their main focus of attention is across from them with their clone. The turning people must work on good presentation of the knee to the setup person's hand. If the setup man doesn't pick up your knee right away, maintain the no-contact compressed accordion and present a good grip for the setup man to pick up. All these things are going on at the same time, so go slow and smooth enough so you can see it all happen and deal with it. Everyone will get a chance to present and pick up wrist and knee grips. After building the stair-step diamond, let it settle, break, and pause, still keeping eye contact, and note the start target 90 degrees through our turn. This is a great interim to adjust relativity if necessary. Here, the setup people deal with the setup, and the turning people watch their knee go into the catcher's hand while watching their own setup. Now we have a stair-step diamond. Let's work on light grips. Turners, don't make the catchers reach or don't crunch the catchers by overturning. Settle, key, break, and pause. The existing setup is ready to build a star, anticipating a good presentation of grips and seeing the arm of the turner in their periphery ready to pick it up. Monitor your heading because absorbing a hard hit can move you off heading. In the meantime, the turners deal with synchronicity, being slow and smooth enough to anticipate putting their arm in a good place for the setup people to pick up, still cross-referencing for levels and proximity. Take a good look at the wrist you're supposed to pick up. Pick up the right grip. Let it settle out, break, and pause. Here we have a role reversal. The setup man becomes the turner, and the turner becomes the setup man. The setup people must present a good target for the turning people to reference on and should look out at the correct time and see the grip they are supposed to pick up as it comes into their peripheral vision. Look out with your eyes only, and if you have to move your head, move it as little as possible. Get a good picture of what you're doing so you pick up the grip correctly the first time. Exercise good heading control and don't move while looking out for the grip. Get your attention back to the center as soon as possible. You want to go slowly and smoothly enough to see it all happen, communicating the whole time. The setup person can tell a turner if he's too close or not by how he reacts after picking up the grip. If he just picks up the grip and doesn't do anything, the turner can assume he's in the right place. If the grip gets picked up and he pulls you in, the turner can assume he was too far away. If the grip gets picked up and he pushes the turner out a little, the turner can assume his turn was too deep. This is called learning in freefall. The catcher or the setup man can also communicate by how he keys a formation. So if you get a little squeeze just as you put your knee in his hand, you know it's been a smooth transition. If he has your knee in his hand for 2 or 3 seconds, look around to see what's up. Learn in freefall. Here we have good cross-reference between black and blue. They're parallel and in good position to present and pick up grips. It's good synchronicity. A star is our interim. So if everyone is in the right place to pick up and present grips, voila, we have the stair-step diamond and are doing our jobs correctly. You should go through the dive as many times as necessary to make sure you remember it all. Noting the only time we lose eye contact with the center on this drill is when you look out to pick up knee grips. On the break, we see a slight pause as red and green get into sync with good eye contact. You can see their legs helping move their upper bodies forward through the turn into a no-contact compressed accordion setup. Here we note legs out by black and blue to keep proximity while building the setup. Red and green try to keep no more than one body width between them to the completion of the stair-step diamond. At this point, red and green should see and feel all the grips, producing more peripheral awareness and sidewards relativity control. Red and green can be further forward through the turn and not so offset to each other. Here you can see everyone working their prospective setups, noting the star interim and eye contact. At this point, we see black slowly drifting to the right. Watch your heading. This minor mistake, compounded by red's slight overturn, caused a 10-degree heading change. The key was given a little early, but does not affect much due to the eye contact and communication going back to the star. Note here good presentation and taking of grips, created by good peripheral vision and eye contact. Green is moving into the edges of red's peripheral vision as blue's wrist comes into red's vision. We want blue to exercise discipline and not pick up the grip on red, but present a good target for red to grip. On the break, as red and green star target feeds information into the mind's computer about rate of fall and relativity, they're seeing a no-contact compressed accordion building and the setup man coming into view. Note here good presentation and taking of grips, created by good peripheral vision and eye contact. We see legs out slightly by everyone, showing good anticipation of a passable backslide at the break. The setup man has arms and legs in his peripheral vision. Green presents a grip while anticipating picking up the knee grip. If you can't see the knee at this point, it would be good to take a quick look for reference. When keying the knee grip, we need to communicate to the person whose knee is in our hand. We need to tell him that we're breaking the formation and moving on. If things are going smooth, a subtle key such as a squeeze of our grip and release would be appropriate. If things are rough and moving around, a more vivid key such as a shake would be needed. Let's look at that same move from a different point of view. Here we see black and blue build a parallel setup for the no-contact compressed accordion. It is parallel but a little wide, causing red and green to reach, putting a small wave in the formation. We let it settle out and break, seeing the setup shrink, creating the proper size for the star interim. We need good body position discipline to present and pick up grips. Notice blue's turn seems to take less effort than black, and this is due to blue turning in place, while black starts with a chest turn and has to compensate the last 90 degrees of the turn, creating more work. We see good levels on the break as we go through the dive a second time. Green realizes he is a little ahead of red for synchronicity and holds off on the grip until red is in position to pick up the wrist grip. We have a simultaneous break with a good face-off. Red is a little high on the break to the star interim, with blue looking for red's leg out of the corner of his eye. Here you can see the air deflection off green's leg and the direction of the deflection causing the legs to move to the left. We can also note eye contact as green watches his knee move into black's hand while keeping a good reference across the formation. Note the presentation and pickup of grips, with a slight grip fumble by green. Check blue's leg position and resulting air deflection on the break, creating the right-hand turn, which indicates good anticipation of the turn and good discipline not to turn before you're supposed to. Also notice the cross-referencing and eye contact. Here we have a great shot of black trying to see the whole picture. The formation is flying level, producing a nice smooth star target. Great turns. Here it looks like Green should have paid a little more attention as he picked up the grip on Blue's calf instead of the palm down knee grip. But it does look like he was paying attention to altitude here, and you should be too.
It takes awareness to recognize the no-tension feeling in a formation necessary to fall straight down. Feel the deflection of air by your legs and recognize the amount of deflection necessary to keep you from backsliding when you drop grips. Maintain that awareness to stay in place during your turns. Begin to adjust relativity and synchronicity by instinct. Reduce your corrections for levels and proximity to a matter of inches and not feet. Use the awareness gained when facing in to help with sidewards relativity. Drill 2 works on expanding your grip awareness by developing the discipline to present a grip and pick up a grip at the same time. See the grip you are supposed to pick up and anticipate where your wrist or knee should be, keeping them still and easy to pick up. Diligent attention to detail now will make your job easier and become second nature in the future. Become predictable and consistent so the people you are jumping with will be more concerned about what they are doing instead of wondering what you're going to do and where you are going to end up on every move.
Break the star off the plane when it's flying nice and flat, trying to keep it that way throughout the dive. So on the break, it's a right-hand grip donut, nice and slow and smooth, turning in place, thinking about moving forward through that 90-degree turn so we don't backslide or do a chest turn. Coming through the middle, good synchronicity, watching the levels, picking up the proper grips, stopping on heading. Everybody's seeing all the grips. Good pickup and presentation back to the center. Nice and smooth. Watching the levels. Seeing a little bit more each time we go through it. Go through it one more time. Thinking about building up awareness as we go through the dive. And that means altitude awareness also. So 3-5, we're out of there, track out of the center. Drill 3 is similar to drill 2 because we deal with hand and knee grips. We have a star to start off each 3-point sequence, helping develop eye contact and synchronicity. So using the knowledge from drill 2 on sidewards relativity, hand to knee grips and catching, it's time to think about four-way synchronicity. We should use new peripheral awareness and past knowledge to help us. Now let's start it off thinking about a level, smooth falling star using upgraded awareness, ready to go at the break. Be real smooth, see everything, maintaining relativity just like the stair-step diamond drill. The targeting visual here would be to see all four hands in the center, remembering to think about moving forward in your turns to avoid a chest turn. You want a tight setup to the two parallel no-contact compressed accordions to avoid a wide reach. These two no-contact compressed accordions, when put together by hand and knee grips, build a donut. You should use a palm down, bend in the knee grip. Don't get tunnel visioned. Referencing across, behind, and ahead, building peripheral awareness. Pay attention to the center and see all the grips come together. Anticipate the key going back through the star target on level with a good rate of fall. Avoid the chest turn. Notice relativity to your clone, knowing when your 180-degree turn is finished. You want to slow down your momentum through the second half of the turn, so by the time you get to the grips, you have already stopped, not taking any momentum into the formation. Use good cross-reference, seeing all around. Fly to the grip and don't reach. Keep the donut small and tight. Keep flying the box position to avoid a collapse of your free fall stance, and stiff arm if necessary. Now, going back to the star, remember the picture from our stair-step diamond drill, raising grip awareness. Here's the break, anticipating a good turn in place. Don't backslide. If you get to the correct place in the sky before grips are presented, have the discipline to stop your turn on heading. Sit still, working on sidewards relativity until the grips come to you. Fly to a position in free fall and not to a grip. If you fly to or chase a grip and pick up the grip, the person you are chasing will think he's in the right place doing the right job. If you don't pick up the grip on that person, hopefully he will know something is wrong and will fly to the correct position in the sky so a grip can be picked up on him. Remember how you had to put your legs out when you were in a star so you didn't backslide at the break? You do the same thing in a donut using an arm and a leg to prevent unwanted sidewards body movement on the break. As we move from the right-hand grip donut, we go through the star target. We should see grips picked up by everyone, and as your awareness builds, feel and see the grip picked up on your leg. It settles out, keys and brakes, with good synchronicity and relativity back to the star. Pick up the tempo as you start to get the dive in your head, working on eye contact, synchronicity, targeting, grips, catching, and flying in the formation. Constantly working on building that overall awareness. Anticipate the break, thinking about relativity, synchronicity, cross-referencing, eye contact, and not backsliding. We are using our entire field of vision to feed information into our mind's computer. Here, let's go slow to help us deal with relativity and four-way synchronicity while remembering our no-contact compressed accordion setups from the stair-step diamond drill. Turn in place and stop on heading, level, ready to pick up a palm-down knee grip. We should also be thinking about presenting a good target with our knee in hand. A good target stays relative with no translational body movement. We want to let Mr. Slow and Mr. Smooth allow us to see things as or before they happen and be ready to adjust relativity if necessary. The momentum of the turn backed up the donut 10 degrees because we stopped flying the formation after picking up grips. Let's look at that again from another point of view just prior to picking up the grips. Here, the donut would have backed up more if people hadn't worked at stopping the backup once they realized it was still moving. The easiest way to avoid backing up the donut is not to let it happen in the first place. Here we see the brake, and during the turn, we again set up relativity and four-way synchronicity, noting the start target, continuing eye contact, cross-referencing, and turning in place. We see green finishes his turn with a chest turn and backslide into the donut. The chest turn creates separation between black and green and creates the illusion in black's mind that he is late in the turn, causing him to rush and reach instead of simply flying to the grip. The reach caused the grip up on the calf and not a palm down knee grip. The evidence here does not indicate a lot of damage to the formation by the grip up on the calf. However, the need for correct grip discipline will become more evident when we start to fly pieces such as cats and half-cats in future tapes. Black picked up his grip last on the formation. Green did not pause long enough to let the formation settle out. He should have waited until black was ready to brake. This is evidenced by a lack of synchronicity shown on the brake of the donut, where everyone but black is faced in for the interim. Halfway through the turn, everybody realized that the synchronicity was off and slowed down their turn so all the grips were picked up at the same time. Let's look at the turn from another point of view and note the cross-referencing and eye contact by red while presenting his wrist to black. We see legs out in anticipation of moving forward through the turn to the donut, with green stopping on heading, holding position, exercising good discipline and sidewards relativity control. Green's leg and arm help to hold horizontal relativity while he uses good cross-referencing through the center until black picks up his knee. Also note the good knee grip by red on black. Notice the legs out here maintaining sideward relativity to prevent sliding out at the brake. We see a star target. The eye contact here creates good levels and synchronicity. Notice the cross-referencing by black and blue to create good relativity. Green's knee stops in the correct place on heading for blue to pick up the proper grip. Also note black still cross-referencing while working on the simultaneous pickup and presentation of grips.
Drill 3 reinforces sidewards relativity and introduces four-way synchronicity, both of which are intended to increase your peripheral awareness. The synchronicity factor has doubled from Drill 2, creating the need for good quarterbacking because 4 people are moving at the same time. The need for correct timing is critical, so using the slow, smooth concept allows you to skydive at a pace that is comfortable for everyone. By now, you should be able to see how chain reactions occur in the air, how one move sets the tone for the next sequence of moves, whether that tone be smooth or rough. It is more difficult to keep a skydive moving at a smooth pace than to be undisciplined and let things get rough and stay rough. If the discipline starts to deteriorate, it is up to the quarterback to react to the situation. He should then pause, letting the frantic pace calm down to the point where things can proceed smoothly. You should be able to see the need to fly to a place in the sky and not just fly to grips and end up in the wrong place. If you go to the wrong place, other people may follow suit, leaving them in the wrong place too. We also see the need to continue flying the formation after all grips are picked up. This is evidenced in Drill 3 by the donut backing up after the grips are taken. This means your job on a skydive is not done just because you have a grip in your hand. It's over when you have safely landed. So keep your eyes open, constantly learning, getting better with each jump, and having more fun every time you get in the air.
On the break, we're going to deal with turns in place, levels, good presentation of the knees to the catchers, exercising good heading control until the key is given to go back to the top. We're going to use the old picture, new picture technique again, using the horizon as a reference through the 180-degree point of the turn. We don't want people to make their back ends too deep or too shallow. And we want the catchers to do their job, placing the back ends in the proper position if they're not already there. We want to go through it nice and smooth, and slow enough to see everything that's happening all the time. Working the levels, the presentation of the knee grips, along with the presentation and taking of wrist grips on the way back in. We want to learn every time we make a turn, so all our turns in the future are better. Let's go through it one more time, slow and smooth, watching the levels, making sure the rate of turn is slow enough to compensate for any problems we might have during the turn. Creating more awareness every time we go through it. And that awareness also means altitude awareness. And at 3-5, make sure we break it off and track out of the middle. Drill 4 introduces back ends and involves turning in place, which is something we've been working on since Drill 1. In Drill 1, we worked on 360-degree turns in place. We targeted a bipole 180 degrees through the turn. In Drill 4, we're going to start from a star and have one person at a time do a 180-degree turn in place, exercising heading control and relativity to a Murphy. After the key, we turn another 180 degrees in place, present and pick up grips, back to a star. That's right, a back end is just a turn in place. We will use the old picture, new picture technique to help us maintain heading and relativity. Every person will have a chance to get a perspective of the turning person from 3 different points of view, creating large quantities of data for the mind's computer to be used on this dive and dives in the future. The in-facing people will strengthen flying in the formation, relativity, and expand catching awareness. This drill is going to work on left-hand turns. Let's assume black's point of view. On the break, pause if necessary, feeding the brain with visuals. Begin the turn, targeting at 90 degrees just like a donut or stair-step diamond. Keep a reference on the person opposite you in the horseshoe, as well as the person you're turning toward. Watch your knee go into the catcher's hand. Use the old picture on the horizon as a reference. Make your head switch to the new picture, finishing the turn a full 180 degrees, at which point your left knee is gripped. See and feel the grips. Become more grip aware each time you present or pick up a grip, whether you're facing in, out, or sidewards. Now use the man on your left for a reference, maintaining levels and proximity. Keep flying in the formation, anticipating the key, which you will feel and/or see. Remember targeting on your turns back to center from previous drills. Exercise good grip awareness, presenting and picking up the grips at the same time when possible. Let it settle, anticipating your new job, which is flying in the formation, working on the rate of fall and proximity of the setup during green's turn. Be a good base and help make the turning person's job as easy as possible. Now as green nears 90 degrees, you see the stair-step diamond target. Hold the setup of the horseshoe, and if you feel like you're in the way of the turn, open the door if necessary, moving your arm, not your body, out of the way. Anticipate the first leg going past your hand, eyeing the left leg and knee grip as they get into view, ready to pick up the grip. At the same time, keep monitoring rate of fall and heading. As you pick up the grips, let it settle, give the key, and fly the horseshoe. Be ready to present and pick up grips. As you become the center of the horseshoe, keep it falling straight down with good awareness about levels and rate of fall. Look at blue's turn. Try to learn from it. Look for the targeting, body position, and eye contact. See the door open and close. Anticipate. See all the grips and keep the levels. See the communication going on between the catcher's hands and the turner's knees. Anticipate the key and brake while flying the formation. See all the grips, preparing for red's turn, noting the targeting. Anticipate picking up his knee, whether it be high, low, in, or out. Make sure your grip is right at the bend in the knee on the outside of the leg, not on the ankle and not inside the knee. Stiff arm and/or placement of the knee may be needed to correct his back in. Let it settle out, key, again opening that door if necessary. Keep proximity, presenting a good target for red's wrist. See all the grips, let it settle, and get ready to repeat the sequence. Keep using the creepers to your best advantage, going through the dive as slowly and as many times as is necessary to be comfortable with it. After you go through slowly, seeing the whole picture, it's okay to speed up the creepers past a normal rate of turn just to see if you can remember all the moves at a higher speed. The last time you go through the dive on the creepers, make sure you go through it at the same speed you want to be going through it in freefall. Remember, slow is smooth. Do it right the first time. So if you get a little rough up there, pause, take a breath, let it settle out, then proceed. Do the dive at a pace that is comfortable for you. Expand your own envelope without tearing it. Have fun. Concentrate flying the formation as you build a star off the plane and anticipate the break. Note the symmetry of the horseshoe, indicating everyone is flying well in the formation. We see a good 90-degree target by black, indicating cross-referencing and eye contact. Green prepares to catch black's knee as black sees his knee go into green's hand. Red slightly opens the door, allowing black's knee to get into position to be gripped. Here we see black switch to the new picture, anticipating the break, picking up red in his peripheral vision. He sees the setup and wrist grips going back to the star. Looking at the same turn from the belly view, we see black referencing on green, monitoring relativity through the old picture while green concentrates on the horseshoe setup. Green leaves black's field of vision. Black switches to the new picture after building the Murphy and works on out-facing relativity. After the key, black uses red as a reference while thinking about good grip discipline back to the star. As green begins his turn, we notice black backsliding a little due to the momentum of his turn. When black realizes this, he gets his leg out to correct the backslide, indicating good use of the data fed to the mind's computer. See things happen and correct them in freefall. Green targets 90 degrees through his turn, and we see his legs working to complete the 180-degree turn. Green leaves the old picture a little early and slides out as black opens the door and picks up the grip. Green did not finish his turn in the right place. Remember to turn slow enough and see the whole picture. Be able to stop at any point of the turn and be in total control. Blue could have helped by being a better catcher by holding green in position and not letting him slide out. Here it appears that green was attempting to turn before the key was given. Attempting to turn before grips are dropped not only puts tension on the formation, but can change the turner's axis of rotation. Be patient. Trust the keys. At the 270-degree target, green cross-references and uses his legs to keep proximity all the way to grip presentation and pickup. Looking at green's turn from the belly view, we see the break. Green begins his turn. The people in the setup work on flying the horseshoe. Just past the 90-degree point of the turn, we see blue eyeing green's knee, preparing to pick up the grip. We also see green's right leg helping to turn. Green turns in too deep, and feeling too deep begins to move out and moves out too far, indicating overcorrection. This is both good and bad. It's good to correct and bad to overcorrect. Blue should not have let his right arm go past the 90-degree bend to keep green in the proper place in the formation. We see a simultaneous grip drop showing good anticipation of the break. Green regains eye contact with the center, then picks up and presents grips. Everyone is now getting ready to deal with the next move. At the 90-degree target, green has already opened the door to allow blue's leg to pass without any interference. Blue references on red until he knows his knee is going to be in the correct position to be picked up. He then does his head switch. Green begins to close the door as blue's leg is passing, ready to pick up the grip. It settles out and reshapes itself as the key is given. Blue gets his legs involved to avoid the backslide and finishes the turn smoothly and on heading. On the same turn from the belly point of view, we see Blue's legs deflecting air to help the turn while using eye contact to reference on red at 90-degree target. Here the legs go to neutral. Blue sees his knee go into the catcher's hand, feeling both grips as he completes the 180, where it settles and breaks. Here we see the legs working as he picks up the new picture in center point, flying all the way to grips. On red's turn, we see good targeting at the 90-degree point and anticipation by the horseshoe people to pick up grips. Red makes his head switch to the new picture as soon as he knows his knee is in black's hand. After the formation settles out and breaks, red sees the setup, ready to present and pick up grips. As we look at the dive the second time through the page, we see black using his legs to help start the turn. The setup people work on levels and presenting a good target for black to reference on. He keeps the old picture until green picks up the grip. Black switches to the new picture before the break and then gets his legs involved to turn back to the star. From red's point of view, we see black referencing across the formation and green looking for the grip he's supposed to pick up. Black keeps the old picture until green picks up the grip, then finishes the turn, allowing red to pick up the grip. You can also see the concentration by blue and green in the setup. On the break, we see green concentrating on picking up the grip to go back to the star. We see green referencing the center and using his legs to help the turn. At the 90-degree target, green uses blue as a reference thinking about good presentation of his knee to Blue's hand. He starts the turn before the key is given. Wait for the keys. Legs are out to avoid the backslide at the end of the turn, and levels stay good all the way to grips. From Red's point of view, we see Green use his legs to drive his lower body to the 90-degree target, and at the 180-degree point, he spills air reacting to the slight loss of levels while anticipating the key and turn back to the center. On Blue's second turn, we see good relativity while Green opens the door. Blue watches his knee go into Red's hand and feels Green's grip on his left leg. As Blue makes his head switch, we see how a coordinated use of arms and legs produces a good turn in place. Looking at Blue's turn from Red's point of view, we see the key and Green concentrating on the setup until Blue's knee comes into his peripheral vision, where Green looks out to see the grip he's supposed to pick up. From the helmet view, Blue's turn appears to be too deep. The catchers were caught off guard and did not stop the turn soon enough. It takes a little time to settle the formation before the break. We see Black and Green flying the horseshoe with a good grip presentation by Green to go back to the star. We see a good turn by Red and concentration by the setup people. Blue looks out only long enough to see the grip and to open the door slightly to pick it up. He then gets his attention back to the center as soon as possible to keep flying the setup. He keys it and works on the setup while Red picks up his eye contact with the center of the formation and flies back to the star. From Red's view, we see the key given and a slight pause to check relativity. Red uses Black as a reference until his knee is in Black's hand, then uses the horizon as a reference at the 180-degree point. He makes his head switch and flies back to the star.
In Drill 4, you were introduced to a 180-degree turn in place, which left you with grips at your knees facing out of the formation. In the skydiving world, this move has been referred to as a back-in. The term back-in, however, is often misleading. A more appropriate term would be an out-facing or a knee presentation. For simplicity's sake, we're going to stay with the term back-in. What we are after in Drill 4 is a 180-degree turn in place, from a star to a Murphy. Your turn should be slow and smooth enough to maintain relativity and total control. Translational body movement is a no-no, so if you find yourself moving around during the course of the turn, stop the movement, then proceed with the turn. Maintain levels and proximity. Avoid chest turning and don't overturn. A chest turn will leave you too deep into the formation, backed in if you will. You should be able to see your knee be picked up by one catcher and feel the grip taken by the other. Switch to the new picture and anticipate the break. Don't begin your turn back to the star until keyed by the catchers. Present and pick up the correct grips at the star. After you successfully complete the dive, where all 4 people get to do 2 smooth left-hand turn Murphys, make another dive practicing right-hand turns, knowing turns are the same whether you go to the right or the left. Keep your eyes open, have fun, and keep expanding that peripheral awareness.
This is the bipole star drill, and we're going to develop synchronicity now with two people doing back ends at the same time, but they're really working on doing the back ends towards each other. Again, the hand to knee grips, watching the levels, good synchronicity, eye contact. Okay, Rick's going to key this. Inside people key this. And we're also working on the eye contact on the way out of the formation, going to a neutral position till you get a key, then eye contact on the way back in. We don't want to turn these in too far, because when you turn them in too far, you've got to get put back out in place before they can key it. Nice and smooth. Go through it as much as you can. Always remembering your altitude. And you've got a video man over your back. 3,500 feet. Wave off. Track off. On drill 5, we're going to work on synchronized back ends to build bipoles. We need to remember back ends from drill 4 and synchronicity from drills 1, 2, and 3. Catchers need to be able to catch a back end and deal with the setup at the same time. The turners will be responsible for building their own no-contact setup, holding heading, and maintaining out-facing relativity. We need to reference on our clone while turning in place, stopping at the bipole. We will use our visual and tactile senses to gather the information required to complete the turn. Look for the correct sight picture, which is the sum of all the visual cues needed for reference. We compare what we see relative to what we should see to determine any necessary corrective actions. We will maintain relativity and pick up the keys in the bipole through our tactile senses, which allow us to feel the grips. We must be able to see the turner's setup and the catcher's setup at the same time, so go slow and smooth. See it all. If anyone slides out at the break, let them readjust proximity before committing to the turn. Through the 90-degree target, continue to turn in place. Avoid the chest turn, which will put you too deep into the bipole. If the turners are too deep with their turns, the setup people need to be aggressive and get their hands on grips as soon as possible to sort out levels and proximity. The turning people need to stop in place in the sky and not just fly to grips. Stopping in place is important if the setup people are out of place. You can use the old picture until the setup people come in and pick up grips. Maintain heading and out-facing relativity, then switch to the new picture. Watch your levels. When facing out, look over your shoulder and not under your arm to see behind you. Looking under your arm will cup the air and make you float. When we are building a formation without facing people, we may need to let it settle longer to ensure there is no movement at the break. Target the stair-step diamond at the 270-degree point, getting ready to pick up and present grips at the star. We need to keep in mind how important each other's job is for the quality of the finished picture. Black and blue need good relativity and synchronicity through the 90-degree target, thinking about stopping the turn at the 180-degree point. At the same time, red and green keep a tight setup, close enough to pick up grips as soon as they're presented. Red and green square away the bipole, while black and blue do their head switch and get ready to come back to the star. Red and green key, maintaining the setup to the star, while black and blue anticipate presenting and picking up grips. Through the 90-degree target, note how proper use of the sight picture helps produce a synchronized turn into the bipole. Let it settle, key, break, Fly the setups, presenting and picking up grips. We need eye contact and anticipation at the break. Learn from one dive to the next, one sequence to the next, and one move to the next. Learn from your moves, your clone's moves, and everyone else on your dives. Go through it as much as you need to, slow enough to see it all, smooth enough to perform as best you can. Always expanding your envelope through an increase in peripheral awareness. If you begin to lose the correct sight picture, don't worry, be happy. Slow down or stop, regain control, and get back to it. Turns in place and setups are the same in Drill 5 as they were in Drills 1, 2, and 3. The key words are slow and smooth. The turners are keying on each other as well as referencing their prospective setup man. Black and blue setup widens at the 90-degree point. Don't make the same mistakes over again. Keep your setups tight. Maintain the center point sight picture as long as possible and avoid getting tunnel visioned by referencing only on the man picking up your left knee. Make sure the turn is fully stopped at the 180-degree point and do not overturn. The catchers must be at grips on or before the completion of the turn in order to make up for any problems with levels and proximity. Once the turners get into place, it's up to the catchers to make the turners look good. This overturn could have been worse if the catchers had not gotten involved to help create the correct spacing in the bipole. Red and green reference the horizon and use their tactile senses to maintain relativity in the bipole. At the break, both red and green look for the new picture to maintain relativity through the target point on their way to the star. Now, as it settles, everyone anticipates the next move. The importance of maintaining relativity at each 90-degree targeting point will become more evident in Drill 6, where we will be doing quarter turns. Here you see both red and green opening the door and picking up grips. Black and blue turn too deep into the center, and red and green sort it out, maintaining heading. The catchers act just like a catcher in baseball, bringing the catching glove and pitch back into the strike zone to make the pitcher look good. At this point, blue is already into the new picture, while black is referencing the horizon, feeling what's going on behind him. Both techniques work and build awareness. Black and blue wait for the key before trying to turn. We see synchronized targeting, and as the star squares out at grips, we see everyone working towards the center with their legs out. Note red a little tight on blue, with blue moving his left hand as little as possible to open and close the door. Red's back end is not quite in the proper position, and you can see everyone adjusting. Don't break until you have the bipole squared off. Seeing the synchronicity is off, green slows his turn until red catches up, working relativity all the way back to the star. At the 90-degree target, you can notice green's awareness of blue's legs going by as green opens the door. Still dealing with the setup, he picks up blue's leg as soon as possible and feeds it into the center as he picks up the other grip. At the same time, red does the same job on his side. Black and blue learned from their previous turn and did not back in too deep this time. They did better on their left-hand turns by learning from their right-hand turns. At the target point, we see black slightly backsliding, with green opening the door with his arm and finally moving his body a little left to avoid contact with black's knee. Green didn't waste any time getting back into position to completion of grips. As we go through the dive a second time, looking at it from a level perspective, we see good targeting. Black reaches and misses the gripper on green's suit, creating the incorrect grip in his left hand. This doesn't particularly hurt this point, but if we were turning pieces on the break, a greater effect of the improper grip would be seen and felt. Note the intensity of concentration by everyone through the targeting point and back into the star. On this break, we notice a longer pause than usual, indicating that something may be wrong with the setup. We see the pause help create a nearly perfect bipole. The levels in proximity are great, creating a smooth move back to the star. Note the levels at the break, the eye contact, and legs out by black and blue working the setup. We also see legs out by red and green, helping turn them toward the 90-degree target. We see black and blue getting the grips as the turns are finished, which is an indication of good anticipation and being in the right place at the right time. Green starts his turn too soon, indicating good anticipation but bad discipline. He realizes this and pauses until the break before continuing to the star. Green does a quick altitude check and realizes we have time for one more move before breakoff. Black and blue respond with a couple of quick but synchronicitous turns, while red and green pick up grips at the same time to the bipole. At the break, we notice green really having to open the door to let black's legs go by, which may have been caused by braking before we squared off the bipole. Remember to pause and let it settle out to make your dives picture perfect. And now it's time to swim on out of here.
By now, your foundation of basic knowledge is strong enough to allow you to define new limits of your ability. Drill 5 will test not only your mechanical skydiving abilities, but also your overall awareness and kinesthetic senses. The more you see the entire picture, the easier and more natural your moves in the air. Your awareness of the tension-free formation is becoming greater. Therefore, your anticipation of what to do and when to do it is more enhanced. With proper timing, your team or group should act as one cohesive unit. Your communication and learning in freefall will increase. Your kinesthetic sense should now be taking over where your mechanical ability leaves off. Know when it's okay to speed up your rate of turn, and know your partners will be able to handle it. Begin to develop eyes in the back of your head. Feel more and more communication going on, not only by sight, but by feel. Know when you're falling straight down, and when you're not. Be far enough ahead of the dive to know how to compensate and be ready before anything ever happens. To execute Drill 5 properly, you need to be ready to do your best synchronized turns, and be ready to make your best catches. You need to be confident in yourself and your partners. When turning, watch out for level differences and different rates of turn. Remember, a back-in is only a 180-degree turn in place. It's common to turn too deep into bipoles via the chest turn. See the whole picture as you turn, making sure you stop at 180 degrees and don't overturn. An overturn here will cause two separate pieces if the catchers aren't right on top of the situation. Trust the catchers to communicate to you with their hands, and don't jump the keys. Catchers, be prepared for any idiosyncrasies associated with bipoles. Don't get caught napping. Be aggressive, but don't interfere with the turns. Be aware of the need to open and close doors without being out of position. Keep expanding that envelope without tearing it, and if you do tear it, go back and patch it up before you move on. Keep your eyes open and have a good time.
This drill is star, stair-step diamond, bipole, stair-step diamond, star. Again, working on the keys, the disciplines of level, eye contact, turning in place, picking up the proper grips, holding position, having a good time. So here we are in free fall. Rick's going to key the first. Nice synchronicity in the turns, turning in place, good eye contact, watching those levels, good grip presentation, correct grip taking. Okay, figuring out the puzzle here. Everybody's got it pretty good. Try it in the other direction. Don't back them up too far. Don't overturn. Nice and smooth. Again, these are hand to knee grips and hand to wrist grips. The points and tails of the diamonds are presenting the hand grip, picking up the knee grip. Watch your overturns. As you go through it the second time, you can pick up the tempo just a little bit. But not so fast that you hurt the quality of the moves that you're making. Watching that altitude again. 3-5. Get out of there. Drill 6 will put to use everything you have learned in drills 1 through 5. In previous drills, you looked at 90-degree turns from an in-facing position. Now you will be introduced to 90-degree turns from an out-facing position. The latter situation is more difficult because of the lack of solid visual cues in the bipole. Executing these turns smoothly and correctly requires you to use all of your visual and tactile senses to help adjust relativity before you leave the bipole. You will now be picking up grips at a point formerly used for targeting and adjusting relativity. Your goal with this exercise is to establish relativity before you leave a point and maintain it all the way to the next point. Successful completion of this dive will fine-tune your kinesthetic sense, which is the body's ability to react to the mind's direction with very little conscious thought. You should be well tuned in on what to expect and what to do when you drop grips. Keep in mind all the discipline points you've been working on since drill 1. In particular, remembering proper leg use to avoid the backslide and the chest turn. Begin to rely on instinct or kinesthetic sense to help guide you through the turn, through all the compensations, both horizontal and vertical, to maintain synchronicity with your partner. Stop on heading, picking up and presenting grips at the same time. Exercise good sideward relativity and anticipate where you are going and what you are going to be doing and feeling when you get there. You must begin to feel confident in your catchers, knowing that when you finish your turn, they are going to be there to sort out any differences you might have in proximity or levels when facing out. We're going to hold the bipole long enough to ensure a clear sight picture because we will be picking up grips after only 90 degrees of turn. This gives less time to adjust relativity than 180 degrees of turn. Develop a better feel for the air on every dive you make, seeing more each time you make a turn, feeling more each time you pick up a grip. Now you're taking charge of what your body's doing in free fall and not just letting the air push you around. Use your expanded peripheral awareness to stay ahead of the skydive. Look for the sight picture because over 80% of the information you use in freefall comes to you through what you see. A clear sight picture, such as the move from the star to the stair-step diamond, will allow fast transitions. The move from the bipole to the stair-step diamond provides a sight picture that's poor due to the loss of direct eye contact with the formation. This creates the need to slow down, so when we do establish eye contact, we will have time to react before picking up grips. Practice the timing of your moves on the ground to establish correct habits in the air. Shape it up, settle it out, let everybody know it's time to move on. And watch out for terra firma, folks. In Drill 6, we're going to have you put to use everything you've learned since the beginning of this tape. The insight gained from the performance of the previous drills, combined with the cause and effect knowledge from the video debriefs, should now allow you to plan, practice, perform, and critique your own skydives. Drill 6 is a test of those abilities. Watch the skydive in its entirety for the overall view, then break it down one turn sequence at a time. For instance, red and green's complete right turn from the star through the stair-step diamond, bipole, stair-step diamond, and back to the star. A number will appear on the screen to provide you with an easy reference point for a particular event. Note anything significant that you see which contributed to or detracted from the successful completion of the dive. Watch each turn sequence as many times as is necessary to make sure you don't miss anything. Then move on to the next turn sequence. After you finish writing the dive debrief, refer to the glossary with its corresponding information to determine if you saw the same things as I did. Blue skies and good luck.
Since the beginning of the tape, you've seen examples of how and why certain moves work in freefall. Some of the moves were graphic and easy to see. Some were subtle and harder to recognize. Keeping that in mind, take your time debriefing drill 6. Review each 360-degree turn sequence 5 or 6 times before you write your comments. This will show you how each move relates to the next and help you anticipate what actions cause what reactions. If more than one person is debriefing the drill at the same time, don't cross-reference with each other until you've completely written all your comments. By now, you've seen how one move relates to the next and how chain reactions occur during a jump. When a dive is going smooth, these can work to your benefit. You might even be able to pick up the pace as long as you don't interfere with the rhythm of the dive. On the other hand, when a dive starts to get rough, it's up to the quarterback to slow things down to the point where composure can be regained. Then you can proceed at your normal pace. You should also recognize video as an invaluable learning tool when used properly. Treat your video man as part of the team. Get him involved in the dirt dives and show him the type of dive that you're doing. Shooting from above will give you information about horizontal proximity and your axis of rotation. Shooting from level will tell you about vertical relativity and body position pitch. Tell him what shots you need, what points of view, and from what angles and the duration of each shot. Don't take it for granted that he'll know what you want. Use all the tools available to you to get the most from each skydive. Use your time wisely. Repeat each skydive whenever possible to see if your analysis and corrections are working. When in doubt, revert back to the basics, the foundation upon which all great skydives are built. Keep on yearning and keep on learning. Till next time, blue skies and soft landings to you all.